WFVXBangor.com. More people choose Good Morning Maine.
Today on Good Morning Maine, some of the highlights from President Trump's speech before a joint session of Congress.
Plus, we'll hear how new tariffs on Canada could impact your electricity bill.
And Bangor officials are considering ways to fight an HIV outbreak by building a new partnership. Good morning and welcome to Good Morning Maine. I'm Emma Smith.
And I'm Craig Colson. Thank you for joining us on this Wednesday morning. We'll have those stories and a lot more coming up. But first, to check with that forecast, gray start to the day today, just kind of wet and icky out there, a little mixture of snow and rain overnight. Just mostly wet here in the Bangor area.
Yep.
And that looks kind of like what the day will be today. The good news is temperatures are going to get up into the 40s, so that's wonderful.
The ice cream places are opening up.
Yeah, it's all good, everybody.
It feels like spring. We do have a couple more days before the official first day of spring, but it's starting to feel like it.
Yeah.
Here's Devin Biggs with the forecast.
Hey, Craig and Emma, thank you very much. Happy Wednesday. Temperatures have not been terribly cold this morning. We've been in the 20s and 30s overall. We've been looking pretty good in that department. Otherwise, we do have winter weather advisories that will expire at 1 p.m. this afternoon for the areas highlighted in purple. We have a little bit of a wintry mix that's currently passing through. Once we get that out of here, we'll slowly transition over to rain. There's also a wind advisory along the coast that will expire at 3 p.m. as we head towards your Thursday. And we also have alerts along the coast because of high surf that will be expected. Meanwhile, we have snow further off towards the north this morning, a little bit of a wintry mix, not too far away from Bangor, so maybe some icy roads in a few spots this morning, and then some rain as you get closer toward the coast. As we zoom things out, this is part of that big system that's tracking off towards the north and east, has a lot of precipitation with it, and it is heading in our direction. So futurecast moving forward, we will switch over to rain throughout the daytime period today with intermittent breaks. We'll have more rain on the way as we head towards Thursday morning. As for the winds, not too bad to start things off today. More gusty winds throughout the afternoon and evening time frame. Look at this as we head towards tomorrow. Gusty winds up to 30 to 40 miles per hour could occur. But otherwise, your hourly forecast for the rest of the morning and afternoon period showing rain moving in with temperatures in the 40s. Your full 5-day forecast is coming up. Craig and Emma.
Thank you, Devin. We'll have a look at that full 5-day a little later on. First thing this morning, President Donald Trump delivered his first address to a joint session of Congress since returning to the White House, making headlines on everything from the war in Ukraine to tariffs. ABC's Nicole D'Antonio is in Washington with the details.
Good morning. During that record 1 hour and 40-minute address to Congress, reaction was largely split between party lines, with several Democrats walking out and one being removed during the speech. President Trump addressing a deeply divided Congress.
America is back.
Speaking for a record hour and 40 minutes, the president touting his accomplishments during his first 6 weeks back in office. The president spent little time talking about the economy, but defended his sweeping new tariffs against some of our largest trading partners, including Mexico, Canada, and China. Economists warning those tariffs could drive up costs on things like gas, groceries, and cars. But Trump doubling down.
Other countries have used tariffs against us for decades. There'll be a little disturbance, but we're okay with that.
Uncertainty over the tariffs continued to send markets tumbling on Tuesday. The president also zeroing in on the war in Ukraine and reciting a letter he received from Ukrainian President Zelensky after that explosive Oval Office meeting. The address at times becoming heated. Several Democratic lawmakers repeatedly interrupted the president's speech. Michigan Senator Alyssa Slotkin giving the Democratic response, saying his administration has no credible plans to fight inflation.
Do his plans actually help Americans get ahead? Not even close. President Trump is trying to deliver an unprecedented giveaway to his billionaire friends.
Slotkin went on to say some of Trump's policies could move the country into a recession and warned he could endanger Social Security. Nicole D'Antonio, ABC News, Washington.
Well, meanwhile, economists in Maine are taking a close look at the local impact of Trump's tariffs. Our Alex Schley explains why some economists say that while Mainers will feel immediate repercussions, they may end up benefiting in the long run.
More than 50% of our imports and our exports here in the state of Maine are dependent on the Canadian economy.
According to the University of Maine business professor Dr. Stefano Tijerina, Maine's dependence on Canada has grown since the U.S. shifted to a free trade market in the 90s.
Maine was a very strategic industrial production center for the United States, and it became a tourist and hospitality economy in the last 30 years. So now we would become again an industrial machine.
Tijerina says Mainers will feel a significant and immediate impact from the tariffs.
It's going to be devastating. For example, the lobster industry here in Maine sends the lobsters to be processed in Canada.
Tuesday, Canada's Prime Minister implemented retaliatory tariffs on the U.S.
25% tariffs against $155 billion worth of American goods.
Consequently, lobsters sent to Canada for processing will be taxed 25% on both the way in and out of Canada. Tijerina says there's no way around it.
And there's no way that we can process the lobster here because we lost that capability as we became dependent on the Canadian market.
But if the tariffs remain in place through the end of the Trump administration and are upheld by the next president, Tijerina says it could benefit Mainers by forcing the state to reignite local production and in turn help bolster the state's economy.
In the long run, the jobs will stay here. In the long run, the taxes will stay here. In the long run, the investors will reinvest here. In the long run, the focus will come back to the nation state.
In Bangor, I'm Alex Schley for ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
1 week after Representative Laurel Libby was censured for doxing a transgender minor, a group of women Republican representatives say they're standing by their colleague and choosing to mark Women's History Month by increasing their attacks on trans women. Assistant House Leader Katrina Smith says they remain defiant in their effort to defend what they say are the rights of biological girls and women in Maine. Representative Laurel Libby says trans women in Maine are, quote, declaring themselves women, rewriting the history books, and stripping our young women of their right to fair competition, unquote. These Republican lawmakers are calling this abuse and say they are in a battle to preserve the meaning of being a woman.
In Maine, young women are watching their trophies slip into the hands of young men while being told their dedication does not deserve praise. Girls are pitted against competitors in lopsided matches where basic biology stacks the odds against them.
Transgender athletes in Maine are allowed to compete in female sports under Maine's Human Rights Act.
Supporters of an amendment to the Maine Constitution guaranteeing equal rights for all in Maine gathered outside the State House yesterday. The amendment would seek to codify within the state constitution equal protections under all Maine laws, regardless of race, sex, sexual orientation, gender identity, age, religion, and other characteristics. Those in support say, given the current political climate and the swinging pendulum of political power, it's important to explicitly guarantee those protections.
We all are here because we care that the important documents that are the essence of being an American, being a Mainer, must reflect our rights. They are not implied, they are explicit, and they need to be.
In order for a constitutional amendment to be passed in Maine, it would need to receive a 2/3 majority vote in each chamber of the Maine legislature and then be sent on to Maine voters.
Hundreds of child care workers, parents, and children filled the halls of the State House on Tuesday to voice their opposition to child care funding cuts proposed in the biennial budget. Our Augusta reporter Corey Bichard has more.
So what we're doing today is we're trying to really bring some attention to the compensation and livable workforce issues that plague our field in general as a profession.
It is so important. I've been in the field for 33 years, and all of these years, it's just an undervalued and underpaid profession.
Laura Larson and Laura Glover are both child care professionals who are among the hundreds that filled the halls of the State House to speak up against proposed cuts to child care funding in the governor's budget. Another part of that message was just how critical child care is to the state's economy and workforce.
I think our biggest thing is we really want to bring to the issue, this is not an early childhood education only issue or a family issue. It's an economic issue. Without us, nurses don't go to work. Teachers don't go to work. Police officers can't go out to work. I just think that it's important for them to realize that people aren't just paying for childcare. I'm not paying for somebody else's childcare. I'm paying for people to go to work and then service the community that they then support.
Parents in attendance echoed that call to action, including Jill Barkley-Roy, who says their childcare is a vital part of their family's financial situation.
I mean that my wife and I would not be able to go to our jobs. We need our childcare so that we can do our work. And it's so vital that these cuts do not go into effect so that we can continue to work and our childcare workers can be paid what they deserve.
At odds in the budget is a stipend that helped raise wages for childcare workers during the pandemic, which helped attract workers and ease costs from business owners.
Already, we have a hard time finding and staffing our center, finding quality and educated people to work in our field. And so these cuts can only make an already dire situation even more critical.
At the State House, I'm Corey Bouchard for ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
Well, it continues. Protesters frustrated over President Trump's sweeping changes gathered outside the federal building in Bangor on Tuesday. About a dozen people holding signs showing their disapproval of Trump's handling of Ukraine, federal job cuts, and tariffs with Canada. They gathered at lunchtime to voice their frustrations. The protest on Harlow Street was organized by Bangor resident Mary Ann Larson.
Really hoping that Democrats and independents can become a lot more vocal in their opposition to what's going on. They need to get louder.
Things have changed very quickly since the inauguration, and I'm fearful for our country.
Motorists passing by honked their horns in support of Tuesday's protest or stopped by to offer encouragement to those who were in attendance.
Maine's largest media company is facing dozens of layoffs and cuts to their weekly publications. According to centralmaine.com, the Maine Trust for Local News is cutting, or in some cases eliminating altogether, publications of weekly newspapers. They say they're also transitioning to mail delivery of daily newspapers in some markets. All the changes are part of an effort to cut costs and concentrate their resources on digital platforms. Because of all this, 49 jobs will be cut. The affected areas include print production, distribution, and advertising. Management with the trust says they plan to increase news-related staffing at some point this year. There were no exact numbers given as to what savings will be achieved by the cuts and layoffs.
Kind of a growing trend over the years. We saw Bangor Daily do it. They used to print up all their own local papers there, then they stopped, they moved that elsewhere. But a lot of people are just getting their news online these days, including me. My subscription to the Bangor Daily, I get it online. I never get the actual physical paper anymore. Right. Even though I miss it. I miss holding the newspaper and turning the pages. And,
totally.
Yeah.
And there is totally this sense of unease in the news industry right now, because this is the type of stuff that is happening. We are at that major transition point of, are we going to fully connect to digital? Are we going to fully connect to online? Some broadcast stations also stream on Roku and stuff like that. Right. So there is a transition to how people are consuming their news, and news industries are trying their best to adapt. Yeah,
we'll see what happens there. I just hope not to be replaced by AI at one point. But
that would be a nightmare. That would be bad.
Could happen.
Yeah, I don't want that either. All right, the time now is 8:13. Coming up next on Good Morning Maine, as the city of Bangor experiences an outbreak of HIV, it's considering a new partnership to get dirty needles off the street. We'll tell you what's happening.
But first, another check of that weather forecast. Today, we can expect a wintry mix with rain and maybe a little snow in some areas. Going to be pretty warm, though, with highs near 44 degrees. Rain, fog, and wind overnight. Lows dropping down to the low 40s. Tomorrow, more rain showers and fog on the way. Highs, though, look at that, almost up near 50 degrees. We'll be right back.
Any job goes more smoothly and successfully with the right people on your team, like the people at Hammond Lumber Company, where you'll find high-quality building materials from industry-leading suppliers and get expert advice and professional services. Hammond offers timely delivery with their own fleet of trucks, with boom and forklift trucks available. For your next project, get the materials and services you need to succeed from Hammond Lumber Company, your building project partner.
I can't believe it.
Did you hear who won?
My wife's sister works with the guy.
I heard they're from Brunswick.
Tri-State Megabucks is our local game, where jackpots start at $1 million. Drawings are on Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday. Even if you don't win, you might know somebody who did, because locals win here.
My boyfriend's father's cousin said they live in his neighborhood.
If you've been injured in an accident, get Maine's most recognized personal injury law firm working for you today. The law offices of Joe Bornstein, fighting and winning for injured Mainers for over 50 years. Selected best lawyers in America for personal injury. Recognized for professional excellence, with more than $750 million collected for injured Mainers and over 25,000 victories for Maine families. Call Joe for a free case evaluation. Accidents happen to be our specialty.
It's dividing communities across the state, putting Maine in the national spotlight, and possibly jeopardizing federal funds from the government. It is the policy of allowing transgender athletes to compete in women's sports here in Maine. This Thursday, we'll have a conversation with voices from both sides of the issue. Maine's transgender policy. You decide. A live 1-hour primetime special. Thursday at 8 p.m. only on ABC 7 and Fox 22.
Welcome back, everyone. A man from Garland has pleaded guilty to possessing child pornography. 24-year-old Clancy Scott entered the plea Tuesday during a hearing in Somerset County Superior Court. Authorities say Scott had more than 100 images and videos of child sexual abuse. According to the Morning Sentinel, Scott was sentenced to serve 1 year of a 4-year prison term. He has also been ordered to not have any contact with anyone under 18 years old and will also have to spend the rest of his life as a registered sex offender.
As Penobscot County continues to grapple with an HIV outbreak, the city of Bangor is considering a partnership with an area nonprofit to reintroduce a syringe waste program. Our Grace Blanchard has the details.
Since 2024, certified syringe providers in the Bangor area have seen a dramatic increase in people using harm reduction services.
These services have never been more critical.
According to the co-CEO of Bangor nonprofit Wabanaki Public Health and Wellness, they have received over 30,000 used syringes and distributed over 20,000 sterile syringes in the last 2 months through their certified syringe program.
The issues with substance use disorder, coupled with issues around lack of housing, people are struggling.
Amidst the latest spikes in HIV cases, the Bangor City Council is now considering a 1-year agreement with the nonprofit to begin a syringe waste program. The program would dedicate additional time to syringe cleanup and community education.
Syringe services is an important tool in this outbreak response.
According to the latest data from the Maine CDC, majority of the population that are being directly impacted by the HIV cluster in Penobscot County are experiencing or have experienced homelessness within a year of diagnosis.
Just because we are a dry shelter doesn't mean the folks that we have here hadn't used in the past. So that affects them also. It doesn't mean they're not coming in contact with some of these other folks. So it's a pretty big deal.
The city of Bangor previously worked with the nonprofit Health Equity Alliance on a similar partnership before the closure of their syringe exchange program.
Without that service, you end up seeing syringes in places that we really shouldn't be finding syringes.
The Bangor City Council plans to vote at their next meeting whether or not they plan to move forward with the contract with Wabanaki Public Health and Wellness. In Bangor, Grace Blanchard, ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
A note for drivers traveling through Bangor today. Construction crews plan to reduce the southbound traffic on I-95 in Bangor to 1 lane today. It will take place where crews are replacing the bridges over Broadway. The Department of Transportation says they'll be setting up equipment in the area today. It's all part of an ongoing project to replace the aging bridges and to enhance the safety of the intersections down below.
A new computer lab is set to open this month at Loaves and Fishes Food Pantry. The organization will now be able to provide technology services for residents. Desktop computers, printers, and high-speed internet access will be available for personal use. In-house workshop classes will also be held to teach residents about media literacy, safety, and to build their skills with technology.
We're interested in helping people move beyond their current situation. So yes, let's meet the needs today with food and resources they need today, but then let's look at how we can improve our lives and also help improve our self-efficacy.
Residents who do not have access to internet or technology can use the equipment and facility for free. This will allow many community members to build resumes and look for job opportunities. Loaves and Fish's main goal for the computer lab is to allow the space to be used as a community center and to allow people to give back to the community.
Great service.
Yeah, right? Okay, the time now is 8:20. After the break, health experts are warning this warm stretch could worsen our allergies come spring. We'll hear how to prepare.
Plus that full 5-day weather forecast coming up on Good Morning Maine.
At Ellsworth IV Infusion and Wellness, we are here to help you look and feel your best, inside and out. Jumpstart your health journey with medical weight loss and rejuvenate your wellness with nutritional IV infusions. Renew your skin with facials or relax with soothing massage therapy.
For great Toyota offers not seen on TV, you could type buyatoyota.com into your browser, or you could simply scan this QR code and give your fingers a break. Buyatoyota.com, Toyota's official website for deals. Toyota, let's go places.
When Patriot Waste Disposal wants to know the local forecast, they log on to foxbangor.com. Patriot Waste Disposal provides dumpster rental services to eastern and central Maine. Whether you're looking to do a little spring cleaning or are tackling a commercial project, Patriot Waste Disposal has you covered.
Dragon's Lair Arcade now has 2 locations inside the Bangor Mall. Dragon's Lair has birthday party packages starting at just $50, which provides you with a designated area for you and your friends, which includes pizza and drinks. Dragon's Lair is all about birthday parties and would love for you to spend your next birthday with us. Give Dragon's Lair a call today to schedule your next birthday party. 860-462-1843.
Your favorite restaurants were half off. It's half off dining from Fox 22 and ABC 7. Go to foxbangor.com, click on half off dining, and start saving now.
Discover the charm of Warren's Waterfront Restaurant, Bucksport's only waterfront dining. Relax in a cozy atmosphere where every visit feels like home. Indulge in fresh, flavorful dishes paired with stunning river views. Join us at Warren's Waterfront, your perfect escape.
Great restaurants from all over Eastern Maine at half off dining from Fox 22 and ABC 7.
At Ellsworth IV Infusion and Wellness, we are here to help you look and feel your best, inside and out. Jumpstart your health journey with medical weight loss and rejuvenate your wellness with nutritional IV infusions. Renew your skin with facials or relax with soothing massage therapy.
The first day of spring, or the spring equinox, is Thursday, March 20th, and forecasts estimate much of the nation is in store for severe allergy-inducing weather.
Medical experts say you should be using the time you have left to prepare before the pollen really starts exploding. Fox News' Ted Linder takes a closer look at how you can bolster your defenses.
While the chirping of birds is a welcome sign spring is approaching, this upcoming season may also be marked by plenty of sneezes. The Old Farmer's Almanac is forecasting warmer and wetter than average spring conditions for much of the country. Doctors say weather like this can trigger terrible allergy spells for millions, as flowering plants have more time to produce and release pollen. Health experts also warn this projected surge in temperatures is part of a larger allergy issue.
Seasonal allergies seem to be increasing with time. One of the hypotheses for this is that we actually are having less differentiation between our seasons as the global temperature is rising, and so people don't necessarily get that relief that they used to have in between season changes.
Early prevention is your first and best line of defense.
I advise people to start treating or preventing their allergy symptoms about a month before when they usually have trouble. The most common allergy treatments are antihistamines and corticosteroids.
Doctors also advise going outside at times when there's less pollen in the air.
Middle day is a little bit less allergenic than the earlier and evening hours.
But if your symptoms are severe from being outdoors,
after you've been exposed to the allergen, trying to get it off of your body. So washing off your face or taking a shower can help be an avoidance measure.
Ted Linder, Fox News.
Yeah, it's about this time I got to start taking my antihistamine, just preparing. Okay, the time now is 8:24.
Let's get a full look at that weather forecast.
Hey, Craig and Emma, thank you very much. We have winter weather advisories across the northern parts of the state, anywhere highlighted in purple until 1 o'clock this afternoon. We have some snow and a little bit of icy precipitation passing through, which has prompted that advisory. We'll see improvement later on. We also have a wind advisory along the coast until 3 o'clock on Thursday, and some alerts along the coast because of high surf that will be moving in. In fact, it's kind of moving in already. None of the buoys are reporting this morning, but you can see from the contours here, anywhere you see these higher colors indicating some higher surf, so we're seeing some of that getting a little bit closer for us. But otherwise, here's what we got. We got rain that's been tracking through along the coast. We've had a wintry mix of icy precipitation not too far from Bangor, while further off towards the north, it's been mainly snow, and it is tracking off towards the east-northeast. And as we do zoom things out, this is all part of that large system that's tracking off to the north and east, bringing showers and storms to a good part of the country, and snow across parts of the Midwest as well. So futurecast for us, we have that rain and snow and that wintry mix that's passing through this morning. We'll transition to rain throughout the afternoon period with some breaks in that rain as well. But later on tonight, another wave of rain will be passing through, and again, some intermittent breaks throughout Thursday with some light showers possible later into the day. But then by Thursday night, we'll have some more rain and, yes, snow moving in as colder air begins to move in. So as for the snowfall, I'm only going to talk about today, and the additional snowfall will be taking place in the northern parts of the state. Not much of anything else further down toward the south with warming temperatures, but we will have a lot of water on the way in the form of rainfall and maybe some melted down snow as well. A good 1 to 2, maybe getting close to 3 inches of rain in a few spots before all of this begins to back off. But otherwise, wind's not much of an issue for now, but they will be increasing throughout the day and into the evening as well. Some gusts as we head towards tomorrow could reach up to 30 to, yes, even 40 miles per hour at times, and still some gusts along the coast as we head towards Thursday afternoon. Your forecast coming up for today, mid-40s. That wintry mix will be switching over to rain, and that south wind getting up to about 5 to 10 miles per hour. Tonight, we have rain, fog, and wind on the way with lows in the low 40s. That south wind at around 30 miles per hour. This temperature will be rising overnight. And then we have tomorrow, upper 40s, rain showers and fog, and that south wind getting up to about 30 miles per hour. And let's check out your extended forecast for your Friday. A morning chance for snow showers. Otherwise, for the most part, will be mostly cloudy. Clouds will be breaking up late in the day for your Friday. And then once we head towards Saturday, will be mostly cloudy, highs in the mid-30s. Then time change on Sunday, 2 a.m. becomes 3 a.m. We lose an hour of sleep. Will be partly cloudy, highs in the low 30s.
The best bulls in the world have come to town. For bull riders, 8 seconds can make them a champion or nothing. It's bull time. Banger! Get your tickets now at pbr.com/tickets or Ticketmaster.
We've got a 100-year-old company here, and it's because of the service, the quality, and the experience. It gets done right.
I think we've been doing it for so long. The only thing that we do, that when we walk into a room, we automatically know how to treat that window. We can take any product that the customer's looking for and make it work in just about any situation that they present us with. So
there's no reason to be overwhelmed when we can help you through it.
We're not going anywhere. We've been around for 100 years.
AMHG Works LLC, American-made home goods, located at the Rennie's Plaza in Bangor. Come check us out. We're open 7 days a week, featuring artisans, crafters, and manufacturers from across the United States, where everything is meticulously designed with care and pride. We also have a wide selection of pet accessories and treats. Let us be your new favorite store. We look forward to seeing you.
Foggy's Pub, your place for fun, food, and friends in Palmyra, Maine.
I am born to do this. I am an American bucking bull. And this is my sport. The Professional Bull Riders. PBR Bangor, March 7th through 9th. It's bull time.
The U.S. U.S. is squarely in an escalating trade war with President Trump's long-threatened tariffs now in effect. While the president has said the move is intended to crack down on the drug war, economists warn it could also mean higher prices for Americans. Fox News senior national correspondent Kevin Corke has the latest on where shoppers could feel the biggest pinch on their wallets.
U.S. stocks closed lower Tuesday, uncertainty mounting among investors after newly imposed 25% tariffs by the Trump administration on Mexico and Canada went into effect.
You have a wall of worry. That wall of worry has led to market volatility that investors haven't seen in well over a year now.
Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau warning Americans that prices will go up on both sides of the border.
This is a very dumb thing to do.
Where Americans could see prices rise the most, economists estimate, is with food. Both Mexico and Canada are major suppliers of fruits and veggies, as well as meats, grains, and poultry. Another category shoppers could feel the biggest sting: cars and car parts.
I mean, we're going to struggle, and they're going to struggle, and a lot of it is out of our hands.
And with more tariffs coming next week for China, electronics are also expected to go up in price. Target CEO Brian Cornell saying shoppers should brace for higher prices overall, with strawberries, avocados, and bananas expected to cost more within just a matter of days. Still, the Trump administration is defending the move.
Well, respectfully, this is not a trade war, it's a drug war.
After markets closed Tuesday, Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick said President Trump may announce a pathway for relief on Mexican and Canadian goods as soon as Wednesday. In Washington, I'm Kevin Corke, Fox News.
Well, meanwhile, the Department of Education temporarily pauses access to applications for some popular income-driven repayment programs for student loan borrowers. The plans affected include income-based repayment, income contingent repayment, pay as you earn, as well as the Savings on a Valuable Education Plan, also known as SAVE, which was rolled out by the Biden administration. The agency says the move comes after a federal court upheld a temporary suspension of the SAVE plan last month because of a group of Republican-led states filed a lawsuit claiming it was illegal. The agency says it is reviewing repayment applications to follow the court's ruling and shared a notice on its website about the pause. The agency notes borrowers can still submit a paper loan consolidation application.
And coming up on the second half of the newscast, we'll take a look at Gifford's brand new ice cream flavor that pays tribute to their favorite baseball team.
That and more coming up on Good Morning Maine.
With the Planet Fitness Black Card, you'll get your first month free when you join today. Sign up for just $1 down, $24.99 a month, and get your first month free. Cancel anytime. Deal ends March 13th.
Welcome to Bob's.
Thanks. I know your MV mattress has luxurious hand tufting with temperature-regulating tensile and gel-infused memory foam for the ultimate sleep experience, but it costs hundreds less than the other national brands. I mean, they're not exactly the same, but is theirs worth so much more?
You be the judge. Oh, and you forgot about our 20-year warranty.
What? That's 10 years more than theirs.
You've really done your research.
It's kind of my thing.
When you get luxury sleep for less, there's only one thing to say. Oh, my Bob!
When Maine Paving wants to know the local forecast, they log on to foxbangor.com. Maine Paving provides outstanding paving and seal coating services to eastern and central Maine. Currently booking for the 2025 season. Call today for a free estimate.
You're watching Fox 22, Bangor.
Welcome back, everyone. Today is Wednesday, March 5th, 2025. Just 15 days to go until spring. Today, of course, is also Ash Wednesday.
And a sign of spring as well.
Right.
Ash Wednesday is a Christian holiday of fasting, sacrifice, and prayer. It marks the first day of the Lenten season when many give up certain things until after Easter. Many Christians will also attend special church services where they'll receive ash on their foreheads, which was a sign of repentance in biblical times. The ashes are prepared by burning palm leaves from the previous year's Palm Sunday service.
All right, time for history. It was on this day back in 1770, 5 colonists were gunned down by British redcoats after they gathered in Boston to protest after the soldiers were sent there to enforce unpopular taxation measures. The victims of the so-called Boston Massacre are considered the first fatalities of the American Revolutionary War. In 1845, the U.S. Congress appropriated $30,000 to ship camels to the western United States. And in 1868 on this date, the impeachment trial of President Andrew Johnson began for his views on the Reconstruction effort following the Civil War. He was later found not guilty and remained in office.
In 1946, Winston Churchill delivered a famous speech in Fulton, Missouri, declaring that the Soviet Union had an iron curtain that had descended across Europe. In 1956, the U.S. Supreme Court upheld the ban on segregation in public schools. In 1963, the Wham-O toy company received a patent for the hula hoop and sold more than 25 million in the first 4 months of production. The owners were inspired to create the toy after they saw a wooden hoop that Australian children swirled around their waists during gym class. And in 2018, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un met with South Korean officials for the first time since becoming leader. They were on a mission to broker denuclearization talks between North Korea and the United States.
For birthdays today, they include magician Penn Jillette from Penn & Teller, who is 70 years old today. Actress Eva Mendes turns 51, and actor Paul Blackthorne turns 56 as well. Happy birthday to you if you're also celebrating a birthday today.
All right, now let's get a look at that forecast with meteorologist Devin Biggs.
Hey, Craig and Emma, thank you very much. Happy Wednesday. Temperatures have not been terribly cold this morning. We've been in the 20s and 30s overall. We've been looking pretty good in that department. Otherwise, we do have winter weather advisories that will expire at 1 p.m. this afternoon for the areas highlighted in purple. We have a little bit of a wintry mix that's currently passing through. Once we get that out of here, we'll slowly transition over to rain. There's also a wind advisory along the coast that will expire at 3 p.m. as we head towards your Thursday. And we also have alerts along the coast because of high surf that will be expected. Meanwhile, we have snow further off towards the north this morning, a little bit of a wintry mix, not too far away from Bangor, so maybe some icy roads in a few spots this morning, and then some rain as you get closer toward the coast. As we zoom things out, this is part of that big system that's tracking off towards the north and east, has a lot of precipitation with it, and it is heading in our direction. So futurecast moving forward, we will switch over to rain throughout the day time period today with intermittent breaks. We'll have more rain on the way as we head towards Thursday morning. As for the winds, not too bad to start things off today. More gusty winds throughout the afternoon and evening time frame. Look at this as we head towards tomorrow. Gusty winds up to 30 to 40 miles per hour could occur. But otherwise, your hourly forecast for the rest of the morning and afternoon period showing rain moving in with temperatures in the 40s. Your full 5-day forecast is coming up. Craig and Emma.
Thank you much, Devin. It's another sure sign that spring is on the way when we talk about baseball and ice cream. Gifford's Ice Cream and the Boston Red Sox now combining the two with the launch of a brand new flavor called Cookie Curveball. It's rich coffee ice cream with pieces of cream-filled chocolate cookies and chocolate chips. Sounds like heaven to me. Chief Operating Officer J.C. Gifford says the flavor was developed by the Giffords family as a special tribute to their favorite Major League Baseball team.
That's probably one of the best parts of being in this family and being part of this company is just being able to try new flavors, and it's a lot of fun because everyone gets involved, and this is one that we were all very excited with.
Well, Gifford says they appreciate all their loyal customers, especially since the fire at their Skowhegan facility. He says this launch is extra special because it's kind of putting that tragedy behind them. You can find Gifford's Cookie Curveball ice cream on store shelves soon, as well as at their local ice cream stands when they open up for the season. And I will be giving it a try.
Want some ice cream for breakfast.
Right. Nothing wrong with that.
Waffles a la mode. All right after the break, Tyler Cruz will have our sports updates.
Don't go away.
Looking for reliable tree care? Cousins Tree Service offers tree removals, pruning, maintenance, and more. Staffed with a licensed and insured arborist, we prioritize safety and customer satisfaction. Contact the team at Cousins Tree Service for professional tree solutions.
If you've been hurt in a car accident, watch this.
This car accident turned my life upside down, so I called the Twos. The Twos guy turned this accident into $225,000.
The Twos guy turned my accident into $350,000.
I get a lot of money for a lot of Mainers. Money for lost earnings, money for medical bills, and money for all your pain and suffering.
$1 million for my case.
Hurt in a car accident? I'm your go-to guy.
Call 222-2222.
Are your gutters weighed down by debris causing them to sag and overflow? I'm Tony Hafford with TC Hafford Basement Systems. Clogged gutters lead to costly repairs for your home, so skip the cleaning and stop the clogs with Gutter Shutter. Gutter Shutter, the world's best gutter, is a high-performance gutter with a lifetime no-clog guarantee. Stop the clutter, get Gutter Shutter. Call TC Hafford Basement Systems today for all things basementy.
Family owned and operating in the Bangor area for more than 10 years. Crosby's Welding is here to help you. We specialize in steel, stainless steel, and aluminum welding and fabrication. We serve many of the local industries from Maine lobstermen to the commercial trucking industry and everything in between. Fully mobile on-site construction services right down to custom signs and fire pits. Fast, friendly, reliable service. Give us a call today for a free estimate, 974-7815.
Looking for reliable tree care? Cousins Tree Service offers tree removals, pruning, maintenance, and more. Staffed with a licensed and insured arborist, we prioritize safety and customer satisfaction. Contact the team at Cousins Tree Service for professional tree solutions.
You can't miss.
Let's go!
TV's most addictive game show.
Let's go!
The Floor is all new tonight on Fox.
Playoff basketball is not going anywhere. Welcome back, everyone. Thank you for staying with us. In fact, it is back in Maine this week with Maine Women's Hoops once again hosting an America East tournament game right at home in the Pit. The Black Bears, finishing as the 4 seed in America East, will host 5 seed NJIT on Thursday evening at 6 p.m. Maine won the first matchup of the year with the Highlanders, but dropped the second one on the road in New Jersey. Highlanders junior guard Alejandra Zuniga led all scorers with 26 in that one. She had 20 in Maine's win back in January, and for the Black Bears on defense, it all starts with shutting her and the Highlanders shooters down.
We're trying to see if we can slow her down. She always seems to play really, really well against us. So, but just trying to keep them in front, trying to make things difficult.
No, I mean, she's a really, really good player, and they have some really good shooters on the team, so it's for sure a challenge. But, I mean, we're working on it throughout the week.
And Zuniga's a great player, but overall they're a really good team. Inside, outside, they got great shooters. They run the floor. They're a tough team.
Maine started the year 7-2 in conference play. They've cooled off, though, to wrap things up, going 2-5 in their last 7. A lot of that comes from inconsistencies on offense. And in order to win in the playoffs, Coach Vachon says they have to make some plays on offense and limit some of their turnovers.
Offensively, hopefully we can execute some things. One of the things that we're really emphasizing is taking care of the ball and executing, something that we really need to do well in order to, have a run in playoffs.
Wishing them luck. That game Thursday evening. We'll stay in Memorial Gym now, where the Maine men wrapped up their regular season on Tuesday against UMass Lowell. Playoff seeding still being determined across America East. Coming into Tuesday, we'll pick it up second half. Jaden Clayton uses the defender's back to inbound the ball, proceeds to take the contact and get the bucket to go, and one. Maine takes a 2-point lead. Shortly after, Max Brooks denies a Clayton remix. Cam Morris takes it the other way and feeds Quentin Mincy. Just over a minute left in the game here. It's Mincy again. This time backs down his defender, gets it to fall. Riverhawks take a 2-point lead. Under a minute left, AJ Lopez drives to the basket. Tough shot. He gets it to go. That ties the game at 70. Maine up 1. Time winding down. It's who else but the man that's third in the country in steals. Kellen Tynes comes in, strips his defender, and he's off to the races. Maine wins 71-70. They host UMass Lowell again Saturday night for the America East quarterfinals. So Maine finishing there with the 3 seed. Staying on the court, the pride of Newport, Maine, Cooper Flagg, leading his Duke Blue Devils to win number 27 on Monday night. And at least the share of the ACC regular title came along with it. Coop was a monster on Monday, especially in the second half. He ended up pouring in a game-high 28 points to go along with 8 rebounds and 7 assists. leading the second-ranked Blue Devils to a 33-point win over a good Wake Forest team. Afterwards, Cooper, who is projected as the top pick in the NBA draft, was asked if this would be his last ever game at Cameron Indoor Stadium.
I'm living in the present right now. I'm living in the moment, taking it day by day, practice by practice, game by game. So I don't know what the future holds.
Did you allow yourself to even think that it might be your last game here?
I mean, for sure, yeah. I mean, just like I said, just living in the moment. So as of right now, it's our last game of the year in Cameron.
All right, wishing him luck whenever he decides to do. Coop and Duke close out the season against rivals North Carolina at the Dean Dome Saturday at 6:30 p.m. We'll head to the ice now as Maine men's hockey is preparing to hit the road and wrap up their regular season at UMass. They swept Vermont this past weekend to wrap up regular season action at home, picking up 2 wins over the Catamounts. The sweep was a good rebound after a loss to UConn the previous weekend. Head coach Ben Barr expressed his frustration with the lack of detail in his team's play, but he thinks his guys made the right adjustments against the Cats.
You know, we're always looking for everything to be perfect, and that's what our guys want in our culture, and that's what we as coaches want. It's not always going to be that way, but it's, you know, as long as we're pushing for that, we're finding ways to win, and I do think we played harder and a little more detailed last weekend than we had the previous few weekends.
The Black Bears now turn their focus to their final regular season series against a desperate UMass squad, the 16th team in the nation who's along the bubble of the NCAA tournament, and the Minutemen know they have the opportunity to pick up a few huge wins against the top 5 Maine team, but the Black Bears know they're in for a playoff-like series this weekend, and they're embracing the challenge.
Yeah, we're excited. I mean, like, they're a good team. You know, they're going to want some payback, too, for, you know, how we played against them at home. And, you know, we're just excited to go down there and play some hockey and, like you said, tune up for playoffs and focus on the details this weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. These will be 2 playoff games, and I think that's exactly how we're going into this week. We want to treat that. So it's going to be exciting and fun to play.
That game on Friday, puck drop is at 7 p.m., and that is on Nesson. The Class B North Boys Championship takes to the Alfond on Wednesday night as boys playoff hockey rolls along here at the high school level. After defeating Hamden Academy on Saturday at Colby College, the John Baptist Crusaders, the top seed, advancing to the finals to take on the 3 seed Messalonskee Eagles. Messalonskee defeated Coney on Saturday. Puck drop is at 6 p.m. Wednesday evening, again up in Orono at Alfond Arena. All right, that is all the time we have for sports. We'll be right back after the break.
Fires, floods, burst pipes. Disasters happen, but the mess they leave behind doesn't have to last. For 40 years, Bouchard Cleaning and Restoration has been there to help Mainers get back to the closest to normal as they can. When your property is at its worst, Bouchard Cleaning and Restoration is at their best, and they have been for 4 decades. Put your trust in the Bouchard team. Bouchard Cleaning and Restoration. You keep the memories, we'll handle the rest.
For taking on New England's extreme conditions, Toyota has more hybrid all-wheel drive or four-wheel drive models than any other brand. No wonder Toyota has sold significantly more hybrids than any of our competitors. Like the boldly styled all-wheel drive Prius Hybrid with up to a 567-mile total driving range. Take on extreme conditions with Toyota's proven hybrid technology. See your New England Toyota dealer, your hybrid all-wheel drive headquarters. Toyota, let's go places.
R&K Variety is more than just a convenience store. With delicious homemade food made fresh daily. We offer hearty meals that don't break the bank. Whether it be our delicious chicken pot pie, one of our many savory soups, or a pizza, you can't go wrong at R&K Variety. Looking for a drink after a long workday? R&K Variety is an agency liquor store with an impressive selection. R&K Variety, more than just a convenience store. We're your neighbor, chef, barista, and friend. Stop by today.
Don't get cold feet this winter. Stay warm and dry with high-performance footwear from Comfort Shoes and More. With an extensive selection of winter boots rated from 0 to minus 60 degrees Fahrenheit, you'll find comfort in knowing your feet will be warm in any weather. Discover the latest in functional and fashionable footwear with grippers built right into the sole, with boots in stock up to 6E and size 17 for men and women. Take the drive to Newport for a sit and fit to find your perfect fit. You and your feet will be glad you did.
Welcome back to Good Morning Maine. I'm here with David and Laura McIntyre, and they're the founders of, you're a runner, they're the founders of the Bangor Marathon and a Half. And we're here to talk about, we're already planning for this upcoming race, guys. Thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah, we are 90 days away from the start.
Really?
It is right around the corner.
It
It's June
is.
1st.
So if you're training for it, you're already training.
You are already training. And one thing about our races is there's no time limit. We want people to complete, especially if it's their first marathon or half marathon. Last year, 7 hours and 43 minutes, Mike crossed the finish line.
Nice.
He was a professional runner, couldn't run anymore, but he could walk it. And our thing is for you to complete the marathon. So come on down, whatever level you're at. We want to make you succeed. So.
I love that.
Yeah.
So hey, this isn't just about the runners too.
Right.
Part of the argument here is that this is good for everybody. I mean, look at the Millinocket Marathon. That's been an economic driver for the locality. What do you think this could do for our city of Bangor?
So right now we've got 135 runners from 25 states and Canada coming here to Bangor, Maine.
Wow.
They're going to bring at least one family member, maybe a friend, a kid. So you're talking, 1,000 to 2,000 people coming to Bangor, Maine for a weekend, not just the race day.
Right.
So they're coming in on Thursday or Friday. They need hotels. They want to get a craft beer from Maine. They want lobster. They want blueberry pie. They want to experience Maine. They want to know what's historical that they can visit, that they can do here. So the economic impact is for hotels, restaurants, coffee shops, bars, whatever business you have, we can expose you to 1,500 to 2,000 people.
Yeah. What do you eat before a race?
I do some gels and some bars and, and
those are the thing lately.
Yeah,
Little things
something
that
light on the something that's light on the stomach, and we're just really appreciative and grateful for the sponsors that are coming on board, and we want a special thank you to Fleet Feet that's coming on board. We have Dick's Sporting Goods is on board. Triathlete store in here in Bangor on Hollow Street, they're on board. The White Sporting Goods is on board, so we have a lot of
local and bigger businesses too.
Thank you. Yeah, New Balance is on board. New Balance, so we really it's really gaining some momentum, and we just encourage people to be a runner, be a sponsor, be a spectator, and be volunteers. We love volunteers. Please get a hold of us.
So on that note, you guys do need some help. You need sponsors for your T-shirts, right? What's up with that?
So T-shirts right now, Bangor Savings Bank is back as our title sponsor for the second year. We're so appreciative of them. Sea Dog, Main Distributors, Furniture Gallery. I mean, people are coming on board, so we're developing the T-shirts.
So do we need any more sponsors for the
Yes,
T-shirts?
we do.
Oh,
we
absolutely.
Do? Okay.
Yeah,
So
the more the merrier. And special thank you to BNI. Business International, that we appreciate what they're doing. So they've been a big help.
All information can be found on our website at www.lifestylesportsglobal.com. We also have a Facebook page for the Great Bangor Marathon. So if you want to volunteer, we need people for water stations. We need people to hand out awards. We need people to direct them on the course.
It takes a village.
Takes a village,
This is really exciting, though, because I've seen that. I haven't been in Millinocket when they do that marathon, but it's a fun time to be in Millinocket around that time.
It is,
So I love that you guys are making this happen for our area as well. Thank you guys.
Welcome.
So we will see you
at the starting line.
I'll be there. Thanks, guys. Thanks. We'll send it over to Devin Biggs for our full weather forecast.
Thank you.
Hey, Craig and Emma, thank you very much. We have winter weather advisories across the northern parts of the state, anywhere highlighted in purple until 1 o'clock this afternoon. We have some snow and a little bit of icy precipitation passing through, which has prompted that advisory. We'll see improvement later on. We also have a wind advisory along the coast until 3 o'clock on Thursday, and some alerts along the coast because of high surf that will be moving in. In fact, it's kind of moving in already. None of the buoys are reporting this morning, but you can see from the contours here, anywhere you see these higher colors indicating some higher surf, so we're seeing some of that getting a little bit closer for us. But otherwise, here's what we got. We got rain that's been tracking through along the coast. We've had a wintry mix of icy precipitation not too far from Bangor, while further off towards the north, it's been mainly snow, and it is tracking off towards the east northeast. And as we do zoom things out, this is all part of that large system that's tracking off to the north and east, bringing showers and storms to a good part of the country and snow across parts of the Midwest Midwest as well. So futurecast for us, we have that rain and snow and that wintry mix that's passing through this morning. We'll transition to rain throughout the afternoon period with some breaks in that rain as well. But later on tonight, another wave of rain will be passing through, and again, some intermittent breaks throughout Thursday with some light showers possible later into the day. But then by Thursday night, we'll have some more rain and yes, snow moving in as colder air begins to move in. So as for the snowfall, I'm only going to talk about today. Any additional snowfall will be taking place in the northern parts of the state. Not much of anything else further down toward the south with warming temperatures, but we will have a lot of water on the way in the form of rainfall and maybe some melted down snow as well. A good 1 to 2, maybe getting close to 3 inches of rain in a few spots before all of this begins to back off. But otherwise, wind's not much of an issue for now, but they will be increasing throughout the day and into the evening as well. Some gusts as we head towards tomorrow could reach up to 30 to yes, even 40 miles per hour at times, and still some gusts along the coast as we head towards Thursday afternoon. Your forecast coming up for today, mid-40s. That wintry mix will be switching over to rain, and that south wind getting up to about 5 to 10 miles per hour. Tonight, we have rain, fog, and wind on the way with lows in the low 40s. That south wind at around 30 miles per hour. This temperature will be rising overnight. And then we have tomorrow, upper 40s, rain showers and fog, and that south wind getting up to about 30 miles per hour. And let's check out your extended forecast for your Friday. A morning chance for snow showers. Otherwise, for the most part, will be mostly cloudy. Clouds will be breaking up late in the day for your Friday. And then once we head towards Saturday, we'll be mostly cloudy, highs in the mid-30s. Then time change on Sunday, 2 a.m. becomes 3 a.m. We lose an hour of sleep. We'll be partly cloudy, highs in the low 30s.
Dreaming of a new garage or custom build? Patriot Landscaping and Construction delivers from frame to finish. Expert craftsmanship, durable designs, and quality you can trust. We get it done right. Call Patriot Landscaping and Construction today. Let's build your future together.
Roto-Rooter has served the greater Bangor area and beyond for 35 years, offering plumbing, hydrojetting, snaking, descaling, video inspection, and grease interceptor cleaning services. For all your residential and commercial clogs, call Roto-Rooter today, 990-1234.
And away go troubles down the drain. Roto-Rooter.
Rowell's Garage has been serving customers in the greater Dover-Foxcroft region since 1946. Our goal is not just selling you a vehicle, but also giving you quality service to maintain your vehicle at peak performance. Browse our inventory online or in person. Whether it's a car, truck, or SUV, we can put you in the vehicle that is right for you. Sales, service, and parts. Rowell's Garage, doing business the right way every day.
At Dorsey Furniture, we believe value means more than a great price.
That's why we do what we do at Dorsey Furniture. That's why we're always updating our showroom with new pieces and new displays. That's why we're always eager to show you the latest furniture styles and newest fabrics.
Because we believe that your home should be beautiful.
Visit our showroom and experience Dorsey quality, Dorsey value, the Dorsey reputation. Dorsey Furniture, Route 1A in Holden, and online at dorseyfurniture.com.
Dreaming of a new garage or custom build? Patriot Landscaping and Construction delivers from frame to finish. Expert craftsmanship, durable designs, and quality you can trust. We get it done right. Call Patriot Landscaping and Construction today. Let's build your future together.
White Top is the world's oldest llama in captivity at 27 years more than 27 years old and 250 days. According to Guinness World Records, that is. The animal spends his days at Victory Junction in the Barn, a camp in North Carolina. The camp is designed specifically to comfort children with chronic illness. Workers at Victory Junction want the public to know that llamas can be very calming and empathetic to children.
It's actually super, super sweet. Petting White Top and being around White Top can provide sensory input for campers who need that. It's also just really cool because his fur and the way it feels. And he also loves to take selfies with them. And so that provides moments that they can share with other people. And also to spread the awareness that not all llamas spit on you.
The White Top was donated to Victory Junction in 2006. He now has merchandise with proceeds going back to the camp.
Oh,
Yeah, cute.
what a sweet guy.
Yeah.
Well, and if you're an ABBA fan, finally now, Mamma Mia is coming back to Broadway. The musical starts previews on August 2nd at the Winter Garden Theater, where it spent much of its original run. Mamma Mia originally ran from 2001 to 2015, making it the 9th longest running show in Broadway history. I went to a bachelorette-themed party, a Mamma Mia-themed bachelorette party, and it was very fun.
I didn't get invited to that. Bummer.
Well, maybe next time you're in your bachelorette vibe, you can come.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll look forward to that.
Okay. Looks like we are running out of time. If you missed anything, you can head to foxbangor.com.
Thanks for joining us, everyone. We hope you have a wonderful day.
Today on 25 Words or Less, she made it to the semi-finals of America's Got Talent, which I'm sad to say is very impressive for a